Welcome to Trial by Wine. We take a closer look at crimes that highlight how fascinating humans can be. Schmitty, Swanny and Clarkey visit crimes and run them through their jury of three, debating both sides of the case to agree an appropriate, if totally fictitious, sentence. Please be advised, Trial by Wine may include explicit or disturbing content and will include drunken rambling. Listener discretion is advised. All right, how are we?
Not too bad.
Very well for what is it, Tuesday? Gosh.
It is Tuesday, yes.
Days go by very fast.
It's May.
What
I
about
think that's
you?
oh, maybe that shouldn't have been said because we were in a podcast
It doesn't
world.
matter.
But I have to say, I can't believe that's already happened.
Well, you've just ruined the magic.
I
People
know,
don't realise
sorry.
that we record 6 to 8 weeks in advance. Oh, they do. It's all right. Oh, I've got a little bit. I wouldn't say
We
it's
could call
news.
them personally and tell them.
Well, it's funny. I was just about to do that because we have a new listener, and I don't know if by the time this episode comes out she's still listening. But my new boss has started to listen to us, and I find that a little bit disturbing, I've got to say. And I'm now, whenever I'm doing the edit, I'm much more careful about mainly our
Work
language.
referencing.
No, not work referencing, because
Our
we don't do a lot of that.
language.
Swearing.
Fuck that.
Yes. I think
Sorry,
I may
Schmitty's
have
new
dropped-
boss.
I think I may have dropped the F-bomb at work once or twice as well. But, I try. It makes me want to clean up our act a little bit. But I do have to address a couple of things because she, as a very new listener who hasn't gone back to the beginning, I was just thinking about the content of our early episodes, she asked me a few questions. One was, why does Swanny never drink? Is she pregnant?
Oh, looks it.
Excellent
No,
question.
Nonsense.
I would ask the same thing if I didn't know better.
Yeah, and I said, because different time zones, and also apparently is a binge drinker. So if we get her on one, we'll get her on 100.
Yep.
So there's that. And then also, who's this other guy who every now and
Woo,
then chirps
yeah.
up? And I said, that's Woo, that's Clarkey's partner who isn't named. He's just like the silent partner in the back, but every now and then chimes in. So if we've got any other new listeners who doesn't know who that disembodied voice is that comes in every now and then, that's Stuart, otherwise known as Woo.
Schmitty, nowadays we're known as husbands, not partners.
Oh, sorry. Okay, husband.
Just saying,
I still call my husband a partner.
Just so that people don't think we're business partners, because that's
Different, unusual.
It's not. It's
like
not
it.
as nice.
Okay, so yes, his husband, and my husband no longer joins us, which is fine with me. Anyway.
Do you mean preferred, or you're just okay with it?
Oh, it's preferred, and I think we all know why. Because he wouldn't lean into the microphone and it drove me insane. All right, so that was my news, I guess. Have you guys got any news?
No, not really.
We're going to see Jesus Christ Superstar.
Excellent.
And I think it's the only time you can say Jesus Christ a lot without feeling
Jesus Christ,
the Pope's going to get you.
superstar.
But also there's no Pope.
So, they haven't picked one yet?
I've never seen it.
Well, I
Haven't
know,
been
and so
paying
when
attention.
there's no Pope, I reckon the laws don't apply. You know, like when the cat's away, the mice will play.
Oh, did you see Trump's Popey image the other
Oh
day?
yes,
Oh,
yes,
God. It's
ridiculous.
It's beyond ridiculous. When it comes up, I look at the thing and I go, it can't be. It can't really be from the White House. And I said to Jeremy, he was like, it wouldn't be. I went, I'm not saying without having checked it. I said it actually is. And I saw it in the news 12 hours later or whatever I was saying. It's madness. Who would do that? I mean, even him, I
I
find that
didn't
odd.
see it.
Oh, it's him, like
Yeah.
an AI version of him as the Pope, is suggesting he's like the number one draft pick. But it's from their, I don't know, IG
Official
account. But
page.
yes.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
The devil
absolutely.
does walk amongst us.
It is crazy. I mean,
Oh.
any time it would be in poor taste. But he was just at the funeral a week ago. Do you know what I mean?
In poor taste. I mean, if there was an understatement.
Correct. That's what I'm saying.
poor taste.
At any time it would be. But on the back of this gentleman's passing and him attending his funeral, and then he does that, I don't know, a
And
week
he
later.
He wore a blue
Oh.
suit too. It's just a disgusting piece of work.
It's-
I mean,
it's-
he is the devil amongst us. Yeah.
It's very...
Mm.
I just don't know what to say about half these things. I really don't.
All right. Well, I suppose we should introduce ourselves. I'm Schmitty.
I'm Swanny.
And I'm Clarkey, and together we are
Trial by
by
wine.
wine.
And what are we drinking?
I'm drinking a Coles soda water. It's
delicious.
Gosh.
cost of living.
It Is this cost of living crisis?
This cost of living
right.
crisis.
Look, you
That was
say
like a
that, but then my many so often refilled soda stream here, you can hardly even see through it. That's how old this bottle is. I think I beat you on the soda water cost of living crisis.
Yeah, but you'll have something else.
To be very honest with you, because it was my story and I was racing around trying to organise myself last minute, I didn't have time to run downstairs. And there is actually an open bottle without the lid because I've lost the lid
A
of
soda stream?
a soda stream in my bathroom
Extravagant.
that had tap water in it from, I don't know,
good.
last night. And I went to
Good.
bring that in and I thought,
That is too
I'll just
cost
wait.
of living
And I
crisis.
thought, that's just dirty.
Too
That's
much.
just, below
so,
the baseline.
so this, by all accounts, is quite highbrow.
It is highbrow. It is highbrow.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep. And now that I'm known as a teetotaler,
Oh, well,
You
that's the
got a
last
rep.
couple of
well,
episodes.
you know,
Yeah,
the shoe
yeah.
fits.
And boys, what are you drinking?
We weren't going to drink, so we decided that instead of doing that, we would drag
Smoke.
out a wild.
Smoke's a mess.
Yeah,
cones.
I mean,
Cones.
they're the two options.
Yeah.
We were going to get some. We got a wild Brumby gin with
Oh,
Fever Tree
nice.
tonic. So
So we're not going to
yeah,
drink.
wild Brumby.
You're
Yeah,
saying gin.
Boom.
We're
And
going
then
to
I
drink
thought, no,
wine.
we'll do away with that. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
right.
correct.
Okay.
So if we have one gin, that's fine over the course of a long period of time, rather than half a bottle of wine each.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay.
On a school night.
Yep, fair enough.
Well
I'm
done.
on
And you?
pirate juice. I've got a bit of Sailor Jerry's in a Coke Zero. And here's my other Coke Zero, which I've already put Sailor Jerry's in, ready to go. So
Have
that's
you
my
got?
2 drinks.
Have you got 3 drinks?
I have the soda water for hydration, and I have the 2 alcoholic beverages because we depending on how many stories we do, for the alcohol component of our job.
I feel sorry for my soda water. It's got some heavy lifting to do. It can't compete with 3 different drink lineup.
Oh well,
It has
That's a
to.
lot.
It have to. Oh my God! It can't even offer effervescence because it's not Schweppes.
it's not even Schweppes.
No.
No,
That is the
that's right.
highbrow one. But you
That
got to get that when,
is.
when
Bubbles
it's on
at best.
special.
Yeah.
Because it is, we are in a cost of living crisis.
We
yes.
are.
All right, so Swanny, you have already told us, but it's your story.
I do have a story. I do have a
Yeah.
story. Yes.
Do tell.
Okay. Well, I have to preface it by saying that this story made me cry, and I actually don't remember the last time I cried when I was pulling a story together. There have been plenty that have
Gosh.
rocked me, and this one I don't know. This one had a slightly different effect, and I think it might be a little bit of a personal thing because it sort of talks about an Australian family and I guess their child. And I don't know, I could just see similarities in not necessarily my own situation, but I could really have empathy for them. And I just thought, oh, wow, this is something that's really affected me. So I hope I do it justice. I'm not sure that I'm going to do the job that I'd like to because there's not a lot of written information. So it's been quite hard. So I've had to pull different sources together, and sometimes that can make it sound a bit sort of flaky, I'm a bit here and I'm a bit there. But there's certainly no Wikipedia, Clarky, so that makes me very unhappy. I always like a little bit of it. It's like the guide track, right? Everyone likes a little bit of wiki to go back to if you need to. Anyway, I'm flying without wiki.
I feel like you've got 2 risky things going on. One is the no wiki, so you're putting it together yourself.
Yeah.
The other is I feel like you're breaking possibly your number 1 rule, which is doing an Australian story.
Yes and no.
Okay.
You'll see.
I can't wait to find out then.
You know me. I can't. I just. I can't. Do a total Australian story because I'm worried that Wiggers and Edel are going to come and get me. So no, this one I'm safe, but there's a reason. But there's an Australian. There's a very, very significant Australian connection. Okay, so my sources are ABC News, news.com.au, the Duncan Banner, CNN.com.
Oh, the Duncan Banner.
I'm not sure
that one. That old classic.
That just is a local newspaper.
Right.
There was an article that I read about a trial that was on 9.com.au, and I probably should mention the journalist who wrote that. It was her first-hand experience, so I may read some of that to you. Her name's Christine Ahern. And then finally, there is a documentary. So a lot of what I'm going to talk to you about is what I've seen in the documentary, because most of the articles that I can find don't have a great deal of information. A lot of them are talking about the trial versus the backstory and the actual crime. So I've had to sort of build it from the documentary. The documentary is called In Cold Blood, the Chris Lane story, and it's from 2016. And I thought it was excellent, actually. I think it's been really well done. And I think maybe the 7 Network in Australia had produced it. And as I often say, this was during a time that I lived in Europe. So I've never heard of this before, but I suspect a lot of Australians have, and certainly if you're a Melbourneian, you might have heard of it. We do like a Melbourne-centric crime.
Good old Melbourne
yeah.
with its crime.
Yeah.
Far out, man.
I know, it's a lot. So I'm hoping that you guys aren't too familiar with it, but
Took
maybe
us
you
to
are.
episode 194 before we decided there was a real theme about Melbourne crime.
And then we dug in.
Exactly, yeah.
Then we dug in. Right. Today, the story that I'm going to tell you is about a young Australian man called Chris Lane. But to start with, I need to do a bit of a geography lesson, and I need to take you to the US. You'll be very glad to know, Clarky. So this story is actually set in Oklahoma State. And in my own opinion, in my own knowledge, I wasn't sure if that was considered the Midwest, and actually it's not. Oklahoma is, by the government definition, a southern state, but it's also recognised as part of the southern Great Plains. So what people often say is that Oklahoma is a little bit of a hybrid. It's a hybrid of the South, but I think it's north, of the South and plains. And so the culture that is there is quite distinctive. It's not like the big cities in the Midwest. It's a little bit different. It's a little bit more gentle, a little bit more southern, and as I say, this sort of southern plains culture. And there's a city that we're going to be focusing on today's story called Duncan. Thus the Duncan Banner. Duncan Banner, yeah. It's in Stevens County, and it's about an hour and a half outside Oklahoma City. And it was historically what was called a cow town. So I guess you can imagine that dairy was big. But then they discovered oil. Anyway, it became, when I say an oil town, it's not like, don't be thinking Houston or, it's not big, sexy buildings, with big oil companies. Not like Perth. I think it's just a place where there's actually, those oil, what are they called when they're pumps?
Yeah.
Is the name? I've forgotten. Yeah. So it has a wealth associated with the oil industry there, but it's not a flash kind of place. It's in the Great Plains. It has a population of just 22,000, and it's considered a somewhat sort of warm and patriotic place. And if you're going up to the Big Smoke, you're about an hour and a half away. So, like those towns that sort of sit on the periphery of bigger cities, like pretty much lots of places, certainly like in Australia as well, everywhere. Okay. So we will come back to Oklahoma. But for now, I need to take you back to Australia and to Melbourne, Victoria. And it's here that we meet Chris Lane. Chris Lane was born in Melbourne and lived in a suburb called Oak Park. Ever heard of that?
Oh my God!
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very well. My
That
sister
suburb
has a house
completely
there.
where I grew up.
Yeah.
Yes.
He went to a school called St. Bernard's or St. Bernard's.
St. Bernard's, if you don't
St.
mind.
Bernard's.
It is St. Bernard's.
Yes.
It's not where you went, is it?
No, it's a boys' school. But
Oh, okay. I'm glad you didn't go there, though.
I did theatre shows as one of their sister schools. Yep.
Well, there you go. So Chris Lane was the youngest son of Donna and Peter Lane, and he had 3 older sisters. So he was this sort of like adored younger brother with 3 sort of bossy older sisters who adored having this cute little brother. And by the time they had gone to school, he was still at home with his mum. And the way she describes it is that, he was a really active, very sporty little boy from the outset. And it was quite funny. The way they describe him sounds like he was a dog because he was massively into chasing balls and, ball games and whatever else. And all he ever wanted to do go to the park. So the mum sort of said, that when the girls had gone off to school, he would be like, Mum, what are we going to do? Mum, I'm bored. Can we go to the park? And she said all he wanted was someone to throw a ball at him. And I don't think they realised how much of a dog that sounded like. And then the dad said the same thing. He was like, oh, if you threw a ball at him, he'd always chase it. He was always running after balls. So clearly from a very young age, he had an interest in sports and certainly ball sports. So he was this loved child growing up in what I would think to be a really ordinary Australian household. It was just this lovely mum and dad, 4 kids, just getting on with it. Kids like their sport, and mum and dad adored their kids. At the same time, in Duncan, Oklahoma, there were also some other boys of a similar age growing up in God-fearing homes in this sort of oil-rich town. And they were certainly loved as well. So there was one boy named Michael Jones, and Michael was a surprise baby. And his parents were a little bit older, and they weren't necessarily expecting him, but when he was their surprise baby, they really got lucky. He was this rowdy, blonde, blue-eyed, cheeky little boy who was quite small for his age, so was actually, which is a very big sport in the US, he was a wrestler. and he was unbeaten for 2 years in his peer group, and no one wanted to sort of wrestle him because he was so good. So he had a lovely upbringing with his parents, and they adored him by all accounts. Again, very working class people, but when I say very family oriented, they really did dote on their son, who I think was probably that little surprise and that little bit younger for them. So it was quite a wonderful thing to have happened in their life. Then there's someone else I need to introduce you to, and that gentleman's name is Chancey Luna, which is quite a mouthful, isn't it? Chancey was a son of a white mother and an Afro-American father, but the Afro-American father was not in the picture. So he was an absent father. But Chancey was absolutely spoilt rotten mummy's boy, and again, really into sport. He was no problem. His grandfather said that, he said, I had more trouble with my own kids than I ever did with Chancey. He was a good kid, and he was always busy, always playing sport, and always in a good mood. He was just, all these kids had sort of really quite standard upbringings, and all of them with sort of like a bit of a passion for sport, sometimes a bit loud, sometimes a bit rambunctious, but in good moods, happy young little boys. Chancey was very good at baseball, and in a town like Duncan, that was a big deal. So that was nice that he had that. And I think he was also in favour with other kids and other parents because he was such a nice boy, always smiling, in a good mood. Other parents liked him, and because he was good at sport, I suspect people quite like having someone on their team who's quite good at stuff. So that's Chancey. Meanwhile, back in Australia, Chris Lane was also getting very good at baseball. Now, for all of our international listeners, baseball is really not a big sport in Australia. If you do baseball, it's because you really want to do it, and quite often you have to make it work, I think, around Australian school timetables, finding teams. It's just not as prevalent as our local, say, football sport, which is probably king for most young boys, or whether it be surfing if you're by the beach, or there's a whole big
Soccer's picked up in Melbourne
absolutely.
too. Though,
Soccer's picked up everywhere.
Baseball still would come under that. Yeah.
No, baseball is one of my sons did it for maybe 2 seasons, and most of the people that played there were from American families who were living and working in Perth. Certainly the people who ran it, the parents who were in charge were they were actually from Houston. It's funny enough that I should mention that, but it's not a big sport. So to be really interested in baseball and passionate about it, it's quite unusual. And, it's not like the usual path for someone. Certainly a child who was good at sports, he probably could have chosen something that was maybe perhaps what you could consider a little bit more local, but he didn't. So it's clear to say that he was very passionate about playing baseball. Apparently he picked up playing T-ball. So he was...
I played T-ball.
Yeah, I used to play it at school. That's all I remember.
Yeah, same.
T-ball.
And I played baseball at school too.
Yeah.
I can appreciate why I liked it. I always enjoyed it, but wasn't the career for me.
T-ball's like a gateway.
Yeah, it is like the gateway drug for baseball.
Yeah.
Correct. Certainly in Australia. I don't know if they have it over in the US, but they probably just go straight to baseball, I think. So he actually played, Schmitty, for the Essendon Baseball Club.
Mm-hmm. In Aberfeldy? Where are they?
I don't know. Well, actually, I'll go on to talk a little bit about that later, but I don't know. I probably could find an address for you, but I don't know.
This is for our international listeners. I grew up in Essendon.
About your hood.
About
my hood, yes. I'm Kazza from the Don.
Oh, there you go.
Don't be fooled by the roles that I've got. I'm still Kazza from the Don.
Kazza from the Don.
Oh, so whilst he was at the Essendon Baseball Club, and still going through school at what would you call it? St Bernard's or St Bernard's?
St Bernard's.
St Bernard's.
Saint Bernard's the dog.
I know. That's right. I was like, why am I going to say that? That's right. He was considered a great team player, and he really loved.
Oh, it's at Boeing Reserve. Sorry, it's Boeing Reserve. I should have known that.
There you
Heights.
go. Yeah. There you go.
Otherwise known as Boring Reserve. That's what my nephews and nieces used to call it when we'd go there to have a barbecue regularly.
Because there's nothing to do.
We're not going to Boring Reserve, are we? Yeah, there's nothing to do there except watch people play baseball. Yep.
Well, there you go. Funnily enough. So he was considered a great team player, but also an incredible leader. So he was the captain, and what was it about him was he wasn't necessarily the most gifted player, but he was incredibly determined, and he just worked and worked and worked until he got what he wanted. So he was a leader, captain, and very decisive when it came to knowing what he wanted. He was described by his teammates as being a really personable guy, bit of a larrikin. He was cheeky. He was pretty confident, and he had a bit of banter. So I think they sort of described him was that with the younger people, he was absolutely like the leader and the king of the kids because he was so much better than the kids his own age, which meant I think that quite often he was playing with some young men and they were like, he was just a bit of a mouth. And they said, he'd come up and he'd be like saying, you better watch your woman, she'll be come after me kind of thing. So he was like the baby in that group. But I think his talent held him in high regard with most of them.
Didn't get a smack in the face.
No.
Yeah.
They just said, he was a bit of a larrikin. So on the back of his hard work and his baseball prowess, Chris Lane won a US college scholarship. And in 2008, Redlands College, which was about an hour, I think, from Oklahoma City, offered the then 17-year-old.
How's that work? Like, did they have scouts over here, or he had to apply and go and do a tryout or something over there, or it doesn't matter?
I don't know. Actually,
one
I
of
can
the
see look at your face,
parents,
which is I don't know. Yeah,
one of the parents coaching would have gone, "Oh, you're good. I'm going to ring
He's pretty good.
home, and we'll get you a scholarship."
Okay.
I think there is a degree of that. I think that there are certainly companies in Australia that will look at getting kids on sports scholarships. So there's a couple of kids around here who, if you're sort of good but not fabulous, you can get to some of these sort of, because I think when I looked into this a little bit more, the first college that he went to was actually a community college.
Oh, right. Okay.
So it's quite interesting that you could still get a scholarship at a community college. So it was still considered impressive. And he was going to study in the US and he was going to play sport in the US. So, there's nothing to suspect that it's not anything great, but it's not like a big school or a major university. It's another sort of tier. Yeah. And I don't really go into this, but at one point, because he was there for a number of years, he actually transferred to another university, which I think was possibly a bit better academically. He'd gone to focus on finance and he still played baseball for them and he was still on a scholarship, but it no longer said that it was a community college. So I'm suspecting that he made a leap. Like a leap. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it sort of started. And I've also seen a woman recently, or maybe the last couple of months, where her son, who was at a school in Sydney, was going to a college to do basketball in the US. And I thought, gosh, that's impressive. And when I, again, had a look at it, couldn't find the uni. And it was, again, because it was a community college. So they're still offering scholarships. It's just not, we're not like, they're not off to
way in. Like
UCLA or something like that.
Yeah.
It's not that level.
Prestigious.
No.
Yeah.
Correct. That's the word I'm probably after.
Yeah.
So Chris, as I said, won this scholarship to go to Redlands College, which was near Oklahoma City. Not in Duncan, just near Oklahoma City. So that's just to be clear. Okay, so by all accounts, Chris Lane was totally living his dream. This young, I presume he's probably 18 by the time he leaves, this young Melbourneian who's got a real gift for baseball, ready to see the world, and off he heads to the US. In a radio interview I heard with him speaking, again, that was in Australia, he had this really lovely sort of approach to the opportunity that was given to him. And he said, look, by all accounts, I feel that I'm already a winner. I'm already a winner because I've got this opportunity. I'm going to study abroad. I get to play baseball. I'm so excited. Anything else is a bonus. This is a real win for me. So I thought that was a really nice way to look at it. And so off he goes. And sure enough, in his first year at Redlands College, he meets a beautiful young girl called Sarah Harper. And Sarah happens to be there on a sports scholarship herself, and she's there on a golf scholarship. And Sarah is beautiful. She is this petite, very softly spoken, blonde, lovely young lady. I could only imagine that lots of young men would fall in love with her. She seemed like a real prize. She was just a real catch. Beautiful young lady. So he meets her at college, and it turns out that Sarah's hometown is Duncan, which I've been referring to, Duncan, Oklahoma. So over time, these pair fall madly in love, and I've seen Chris's parents interviewed, and they talk about the first time that he brings her to Australia, and they go on a trip to Cairns, and he's really worried about the kind of accommodation they're going to get. And the mum says, I could tell that he really, really cared for her, and he really wanted to impress her. He really wanted to make a great impression on her of what Australia was like. And so she comes out to Australia and she thinks it's a wonderful place, and their relationship continues to blossom, and they are in a really, really fabulous place. School's going well for them. They've got this blossoming relationship. They've got this kind of international, parents in Australia and in Oklahoma, and they're, mixing between the two. So life is good. However, meanwhile in Duncan, the happy-go-lucky boys are growing up and find themselves to be in kind of trouble. Things have not really panned out the way one would hope for Michael and Chancey. Michael Jones, the sort of blue-eyed, blonde-haired little tiny wrestler, has taken up with the wrong crowd, and his parents are aware of this, and they are warning him and saying nothing good will come of this. Like, you really need to check yourself. But I don't think that's going to really wash. They are aware that he's around Chancey Luna, and Chancey Luna has also changed. In their sophomore year, which when I looked it up, because you can be a sophomore in college or a sophomore at school, I think it's the second year of high school, and I think it puts him at about 15 or 16 years old. So at about that age, Chancey starts dealing drugs. And conveniently, Michael Jones starts smoking drugs.
Good.
So they had known each other, and they had wrestled with each other when they were young. Wrestled with each other as teammates when they were younger.
Oh, right.
Yeah. But they are reconnected, I guess, and become friends through this drug selling and drug taking.
This new business.
Yeah. So Chancey Luna had a a totally tragic 18 months in 2011 and 2012. His father, who I mentioned earlier, was an absentee father. He himself was jailed for dealing drugs. Then his stepfather, who he was raised by, was killed in a motorcycle accident. And then, to top it all off, on Christmas Day 2012, his brother, and I believe it was his older brother, there was no information I could really find on this, dies suddenly on Christmas Day. So within an 18-month period, he lost his father. When I say he lost his father had gone to prison. His stepfather was killed in a car accident or a motorbike accident, and the brother dies suddenly on Christmas Day. But I don't know why. So I've seen his mother and his grandfather being interviewed, and Jennifer Luna is his mother, and she's his biggest supporter. And she was like, he was definitely distracted. He was distancing himself from all of us. And the grandfather said, look, he was clearly depressed. He was not the kid that he once was.
Yeah.
And it was all starting to spiral.
Unravel.
Unravel is a good word, yeah. There was talk that he was running with a gang, and when his mum was asked if that was true by a reporter, she said, look, we don't really have gangs here. What we have are people who are wannabes. And she said, yeah, they were definitely wannabe gangsters, don't get me wrong. And that, I think, is including a son. She said, they were just posturing as sort of tough guys, but it wasn't true, like, gang behaviour. She didn't believe that was the case. But Chancey was also hanging out with another wannabe gangster. And this tough guy was called James Bug, nickname, Edward. And he
clarified that was a nickname.
No, I thought it was just James Bug.
Well, it's funny. I don't know. I've never heard him referred to as anything but his full name. So I don't know if they're boys. They all call him Bug.
Charles Bud Tingwell.
Yeah. I know him well. So we've got Michael Jones and his childhood friend, Chancey Luna. Chancey Luna. And then the connection between Chancey Luna and this other guy who has come into the thing, didn't go to school with them. And again, this sort of what Jennifer Luna described as another wannabe tough guy, gangster, James Bug Edwards. And the three of them are not a great combination. And I think that locally, where the boys had grown up and at one point probably had a fairly decent reputation, and it was obviously becoming frayed now, James Bug Edwards, he may have been a little bit older, I'm not sure, of similar age. He was known for all the wrong reasons in Duncan. Everybody knew who he was. There was no sort of, I don't know about his family. I don't really know about anything other than the fact that this child or this young man had this not great reputation.
Yeah.
He was already, things were not he'd already done enough stuff to warrant having a bad reputation.
Mm.
So I'm going to take you back to Melbourne now, and we're going to be going to a wedding.
Oh,
Wow.
How lovely.
one of our nice
Indeed,
churches,
how lovely.
I hope.
I don't know where, but one of Chris Lane's sisters was getting married in June of 2013. So Sarah and Chris made the trip to Australia. And if I understand this correctly, there's not a lot of information around it, but it would make sense to me. It was probably coincided with their college break. So I think normally in the US, you sort of have June and July off. Maybe, they're roughly the kind of time they have summer a bit earlier than elsewhere. So I think they'd actually come for a number of months. Well, I know they'd come for a number of months. And they spent a fair amount of time in Australia that coincided with the sister's wedding. And at the end of that trip, they had like a big family dinner the night before they headed out. And there's all this footage of him with presumably his nephews and nieces, their babies. But it is just so gorgeous. They're like just kissing his face, and it's just really heartwarming stuff that they've got all that, just nothing it's not anybody setting something up. It's just something that's sort of being captured in a real natural kind of, everyone looks messy and the babies are just adoring him. It's just the cutest stuff. And it would turn out to be the last time that his sisters saw him that night at their dinner. The following day, the parents took the pair to Tullamarine, the airport in Melbourne, where they would then commence their long-haul journey back to Oklahoma. And that would be a long-haul journey, right? And so that would be the last time that the Lanes would see Chris. So they arrive back in Oklahoma, and Sarah and Chris, head to Duncan, which is Sarah's parents' where Sarah's parents' home is, and they go to stay at Sarah's place before they return to university. So on August 16th, 2013, it was a really hot day, a really beautiful day, but a really hot day in Duncan, Oklahoma. And both Sarah and Chris wake up. They're jet lagged, but they're still there. They get up at about 8. She said they watched some TV together. They were sort of just hanging around at home, really. They then went to Walmart, picked up some supplies, come home, had lunch, and then they went and played 6 holes of golf. It was really hot, had fun with their friends, and they had to sort of cut it short. She said, we kind of got 6 holes into it, but then I had to go to my part-time job. So she worked at the Golf Pro Shop, and Chris said to her that he'd pick her up after her shift. In the meantime, he was going to pack for college because he was returning the next day, and he'd get a good run in before he came and picked her up. And she was like, he was just crazy. She said, I don't know why he would do that. She said he'd always be the person who chose to run in the hottest part of the day, but she said he'd always done that, and that's what he liked to do. And I think on this particular occasion, certainly having heard what his father and Sarah said, was he went a little bit further than he normally would, and they suspect it was just to try and get that sort of, that have a decent run in after being on the plane for so long and trying to get, hit over from being jet lagged to just, being exhausted and having his body working.
Well.
Yeah. So he heads off on a jog on the afternoon of August 16th, 2013. However, his route took him past a well-known sort of drug house. And at that house on that afternoon were Michael Jones, Chancey Luna, and Bug Edwards. And they have never said that that was the case, but the attorney believes that they saw Chris Lane jog past and they clocked him. So the next thing that happens is the 3 boys are seen driving down the road. They weren't speeding, they were driving a little bit slowly, if anything. And at the same time, we know that inside the car, Michael Jones is driving. It's his car. And Chancey and Bug are rolling a joint and having a laugh. And apparently they start to hunt Chris Lane.
What?
So they've seen him go past.
Because he's a jogger going past.
I'll come back to their thinking. I'll just tell you
Okay.
what happened, and then I'll tell you from their point of view.
All right.
So from the outside, we know that Chris is out on a jog. He's got an Oklahoma State T-shirt, the arms cut out, shorts, nothing particularly, just in sports gear, just running along the side of the road. Actually, I probably should come on to that later, but you can see from footage, CCT cameras, where his route is and how that sort of pans out. That's how they were sort of able to put it together. So as he's running along, he is shot. And
what?
there is a 911 call made, and it says that a young man has been shot and he's bleeding in a ditch, and they need
Jesus.
police immediately. So how does it get to this? There is an eyewitness who hears a gunshot and then sees a black car zoom around the corner as he heads towards where he thinks the gunshot's coming from. And when he gets around the corner, he discovers Chris Lane on the ground. That gentleman's name is Richard Rhodes, and he is the only person who was the eyewitness who saw both the car and Chris. There is a lady who's come out. She is the one who has called 911, and she is the one who's trying to get the police there. So she has come out after the event, but has seen him. Apparently he went across the road and fell into the ditch. So he was on one side, and I understand that he's veered across and ended up, yep. And Chris is being helped by Richard Rhodes, who is trying to keep him, with him, saying, come on, buddy. Then another woman drives down and she sees what's happening. So she gets out and she joins. As the woman gets out, she says that she can see that Richard Rhodes is kneeling down next to a body, and she goes over to start to help. And she said, there was still life in his body at that point. She said you could still sense that there was a bit of movement and there was air, but he was going. And she said he had these huge brown eyes, and both her and the other gentleman said he had these big brown eyes, and he kept looking at them like nearly sort of pleading and also in shock kind of thing. Yeah. And she said, I wanted to give him chest compressions. And she said, we could tell that he'd been shot at the back. And she said, so I thought if we can get him over, I can see what I can do in the front. And when they were able to roll him over, she said, that's when I worked out what I thought was quite a small bullet hole. She said it hadn't exited. There wasn't an exit point. So she said, I knew that the bullet was still in there. Also, lady is on 911. We hear that the police have arrived because she is saying to them, if you don't get here, we're losing him, we're losing him. Anyway, then that phone call finishes, the police arrive. And although I think he was probably dead at the scene, he is pronounced dead in hospital that afternoon. So Chris has seen nothing. He's just on a jog out, and something's up, and all of a sudden his shot is done. Yeah. In seconds, everything has changed. What I want to talk you through now is the boys' version of events and how it actually played out for them and what they've said, how we arrived at this. There was only a few seconds in their whole path crossing, right? Just a few seconds. That was it. Never a conversation, nothing to do with baseball, because when I first started,
preamble.
When I first started looking into this crime, I thought that there was going to be a rivalry or something. Because when I'm understanding there was something that was about the girl, there was about something at college, or something happened locally. A reason. They had nothing. They'd never seen before in life
to justify this behaviour.
Didn't know anything about it. It was strange. Nothing. There was nothing. It was the most random. There we go. There's a target. Let's kill him. So how did these three leave a 22-year-old dying on a nature strip next to a quiet country road in Duncan, Oklahoma? So Jones, on August 15, so the day before, he said he had spent the night before partying at a friend's house smoking meth, and Luna and Edwards were drinking alcohol. They didn't smoke meth. So they were drinking alcohol and taking Xanax. But the way he said it was like, and I've seen him interviewed, he's like, no, they wouldn't touch the stuff. My cousin and I, the white guys, we were into the meth, but the other guys, they weren't doing it. I was like, okay. This is where it's such a strange day, like what these boys were doing. So, right, they've had an all-nighter. And the next day, Michael Jones drops Chancey Luna at his home, like at Chancey Luna's home, and Edwards at a friend's house before returning to pick them up in the afternoon. At one point, Michael Jones actually takes his father to work. He goes and collects, that was an agreement, like he picks his father up. So they're obviously not at school or studying or anything. He takes his dad to his job, and his dad said they have a hug. He said, it was the best part of my day.
Is this a weekend, see my son? Or is it a non-school day? Like, why are these guys just hanging out?
Yeah, I think they're just hanging out. Anyway, they said that they had gone, and then at one point, the mum of Chancey,
Luna,
when she left for work, he was back at home in bed, because he'd been out all night but then gone home. So there's all this sort of stuff where they are in touch. Their parents have actually seen them that day. It's not like they've all been gone the whole time. It's kind of weird. Like they come in and out and people have seen them. And then then they're dropping people off, they're coming back. It's a very complicated kind of situation. But they say that the boys get together and they end up at this house, which is the house that Chris Lane ran past or jogged past. And at that house, we know that they're up to no good. I think they're doing drugs and just being deadbeats. Do you know what I mean? I don't think that there's a whole lot more than that. Exactly. Yeah. And then it becomes a little bit complicated as to who said what and what they did in the car. But Michael Jones says that when they're in the car, he all of a sudden becomes this kind of, I've seen two different things. I've seen him interviewed not long after the crime, like within days. And at one point, he's still super confident before they break him down. And when he's confident, he's like sort of saying, oh, yeah, it was fine. Because he says, we didn't know we'd killed somebody. We just thought it was, a little bit of a random thing and the guy just fallen over. I didn't know. How would I know? Why would we think that? Why would I care? I don't know.
You shot at him?
I know, right? It is.
When you take a gun with live ammo in it and you shoot at someone and they fall over, there's every chance you've killed them.
He doesn't think of it as, but that's very much how he starts off. And then over like a couple of days, in the end, he's in tears. And I'll tell you anything, if you just get me home kind of thing. And it wasn't me and I didn't have the gun. They're just waiting for them to turn on each other. But they do say, he says that in the car, they're driving along and they slow right down behind Chris. And Chancey Luna takes aim from the back seat of the car and he cocks his arm out through the window. And he shoots him like at really close range. Yeah, and it was with was it like a pistol?
Handgun, yeah.
Handgun, yeah. And this is something that it does sound like I'm making up. Earlier in the morning, and this is before they drop somebody off, this is what's so confusing about the whole thing. There's a man that comes out because his wife's yelling to say that there's a dead donkey on their property. They have a farm / sort of like fields around them, so it's their donkey. And it comes out and he said, yeah, one of my donkeys had been shot and it had been shot by the boys. But that was with a rifle. That was different. So I think
they're out shooting things.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I think, that's sort of, at times that was sort of paused, but I feel like it's this sort of building of, okay, we've shot that. I'm
not
looking
necessarily,
for something more.
Okay, I was going to say.
Escalation.
Maybe.
I think they're just drug fucked, but yeah, okay.
Yeah. Well, they're certainly.
Or fueled on adrenaline or something.
I don't know. Michael Jones was asked was that like target practice, and he was like, nah, like it's all like this, just these dumb kind of
time. Had
just
nothing
bored,
else to do. Yeah.
No,
why would
you say that? Yeah. It was that, and so that was before he went home, drove Dad to work, and came back, and then they hooked up again in the afternoon. That's what the whole day is, just bizarre. They start off, all drug-addled and ridiculous in the morning, or alcohol and Xanax-addled, then go home, then get together, then shoot a donkey, then he goes back, then he takes his dad to work, then he comes back, and they hook up again, and they're out to kill Chris Lane. It is a mess. Like, their lives are just this chaotic foolishness. When interviewed, Michael Jones was asked, what happened in the car after Chauncey Luna had shot him? How did you know it was him? He goes, I just knew. And he said, did you ask him? He said, well, no, I knew, I heard it and I could tell. And he said, how did everybody react? Like, we're going, oh my God, we're all freaking out and whatever. He said, no. He said they were celebrating, actually. And he said, this may sound crazy, but they, i.e. Bug and Chancey, they were happy. They were excited. Their exact words was, you got that N-word. You shot him. You got him. And they call him the N-word all the time. I'm like, oh, can you call a white person an N-word if you're a black person? Very confusing.
Well, yeah, because you're owning it. It's like me using the C word a lot.
Yeah, I suppose. So after the gunshot and they drive on, and we know they turn the corner and that's when Richard Rhodes sees them. But what do they then go and do? Like, are they in a panic? Because remember, they're saying, oh, we didn't think we'd done that much wrong. We'd shot someone, but we're dead. Their thinking just baffles me. However, Michael Jones says, we've got to get rid of your gun. Like, he at least knows that there's going to be a problem with relation to the gun. I'm surprised that they thought that.
There may be a consequence of this behaviour. Mm-hmm.
So then there's footage of them driving to sort of back of an abandoned motel. And at the back of the abandoned motel, he pops his bonnet and they put the gun in, like, there's a name for it. It's like an air pocket or something within your engine. There's a space, like there's like a little, just maybe it's just so they hide it within the engine of the car. So if you're looking at the whole sort of top part of your,
vehicle.
do you call that? vehicle.
Yeah, engine
There's,
bay.
the engine bay. So
Yeah.
within the engine bay, they sort of hide the gun in there, and they get all the ammunition. They hide that in there as well, and then they put the bonnet down,
Genius.
and then they head off again.
Because the police won't know to look there.
Don't
No,
know how
not
to pop
at
a bonnet.
Don't let it get too hot. That ammo is going to go off.
Bang.
Firecracker.
And early on, this is like an early interview, when interviewed, Michael Jones says, I wasn't scared. I wasn't thinking about Chris. I wasn't really thinking about anything. I'd been smoking methamphetamine, and I'd been up for about
cooked, mate. I was fucking cooked.
Yeah, I'd been up for about 3 days.
Oh,
and I know
God.
people that have never done methamphetamine don't know what it does to you. But let me tell you, I didn't care about
Anything.
about you. I didn't care about my mama and daddy. I didn't care about nothing.
But that's the point of the drug, isn't it?
I guess so. I don't know. So at this point, the boys then drove Bug Edwards to the local courthouse where, as the known troublemaker, he had an appointment with his parole officer.
Oh, good.
Oh my god.
Oh.
And as a security camera footage...
Have you been a good boy? Yeah, I've been really good.
You know, apart from that time when I shot a guy out the back window. Oh, no, was it Chancey? Chancey shot him, though.
Chancey. Yeah.
Chancey, Chauncey, whatever his name is.
Chancey. I think it's just Chancey Lane. Chancey Luna. Chancey Luna. Chancey Luna. Oh, Chris Lane, Chancey Luna. So, and there's footage of when they arrive at the courthouse where Bug Edwards and Chancey have hug each other before he then goes in. Chancey started laughing again and gave him a hug and told him that he loved him and that it'd all be all right, Jones said. So off he's gone in. He has his meeting.
But Chancey's not on meth.
No, neither the black boys were. They had smoked drugs though, because they were rolling the joint and smoking in the car.
Yeah, but they don't do meth.
They don't do meth. No, he's the one who does meth. Yeah.
So, you know, going back to him talking about what meth does to you and you don't care about anyone, they're not on that though. So
no, true.
You would imagine that they would have slightly more empathy for other people. But clearly not.
But maybe not.
But they love each other, and that's heartwarming, isn't it?
Yes. So apparently, investigators believe Jones was at a notorious drug house with Luna and Edwards when Chris Lane jogged past. Police say they jumped in Jones's car and they hunted Lane down. A surveillance camera at a school captured Lane jogging past. And you can see him, he's jogging, and then you see the last image of him alive. Seconds later, Jones' black car was seen following him, stalking the young Aussie like a lion stalks its prey. Edwards told police that Jones swerved the car towards Lane to give Luna an easier shot. Jones says that's not true. I told the police that I was part of it. I drove the vehicle, yes. I drove the vehicle used in a homicide, yes. I fled the scene of a homicide, yes. I didn't stop and help Chris, yes. I helped hide the murder weapon, yes. I did all these things and that's bad and I'm paying for it. That's why I pled guilty. If I could go back knowing what I know now, I would have stopped the vehicle to help Chris, and not because I got caught, not because it was the right thing to do, but because I know he was badly injured and I know the severity of how bad he was hurt.
How about if I knew what was going to happen, I wouldn't have fucking driven in the first place and I would have taken this all back, not I just would have stopped after we shot him.
I know.
Maybe he needs to think that one through again, that statement.
There's a lot of focus on Michael Jones
because he's the white boy, yeah?
Yes and no. It's also because he's the one who's been interviewed. Whereas I think in some of the other respects he's the one who wants to reach out to the family, who wants to try and make amends.
Because he feels bad.
Because he feels so bad. And it doesn't mean that I think he probably does, but I'm not sure that it's all that.
Oh, it's all part of, if I show myself, then maybe I'll get, you'll get to sentencing, but it's the whole good behaviour, showing remorse, reducing your sentence from those behaviours afterwards.
I have to say, watching his father, his mother.
I have no doubt his family are devastated.
Michael Jones's father is a broken man. Yeah. He like the tears are genuine. The emotion is just so raw. And
because he's a father himself.
He's like, I have lost my son. You know, he said, and the wife's very quiet. And she says at one point, and then I don't know if this was in an interview somewhere else, but I'd read it, we were not bad parents. We raised our kids with love, but the constant criticism that their bad parenting was to blame really stings. And I can imagine that when it just gets so away from you that in a community like Duncan, these people are absolute prizes. It's like, it's just terrible. They were taught what was right and what was wrong, and you had asked if we felt like parents should be held accountable. I think that up to a certain point, parents can be held accountable, but at some point your kids have to be accountable. And it's just watching.
And these kids were,
These
17?
16 at the
Like
time,
it's
I think.
16 and
Yeah.
17. I know their brains are still forming and they're under the influence of various drugs and alcohol, whatever. But I mean, you pretty much know you shouldn't shoot people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that at some point the kids
I think it's
have to
true.
be
Accountable
accountable.
for actions.
100%.
How can your parents safeguard against that moment where you decide to hunt a person or shoot a donkey? That's bad too.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, even get on meth.
I think one of the hardest things going back to Chris and Chris Lane's family was when they got the call, and the person who called them was Sarah's mum to tell them that Chris had been killed. The number came up as a
unknown number,
a Duncan, Oklahoma, or an Oklahoma number. So the dad answered it and said,
thinking it was
"Hi,
Chris.
mate. How are you? Get back safe," or whatever else. And it was the girlfriend's mum. And oh my God,
what an awful thing to have to tell.
Oh, all right. Shall I tell you a little bit about the trial?
Yeah, what happened to
Please
him?
do.
I will say that for the funeral, and there's a lot of footage of that. It was really beautiful.
Hang on. They got picked up. So they hid the gun and whatever, but they just got arrested easy peasy.
Oh, I didn't finish telling you what happened. No, sorry. No. So after they've gone to the courthouse, there's a little bit, there's not much more to it than that, to be honest. They went to the courthouse, chopped off Bug. He has his parole meeting. And then later that afternoon, I don't know if it was Chauncey. I keep calling him Chauncey now. I've changed his name. Chancey.
I've seen it written both ways.
Oh, have you?
Anyway,
Okay.
Yeah, so you're forgiven.
I think they say Chancey. And I think I know the name Chauncey. That's why I'm now mixing those up. They end up in a car park of a church because they've got beef with someone and they've called, and I don't remember
because
which.
They've gone for absolution.
Oh, they're not done. Yeah, they're not
Big
repenting.
day. And so they've called some guy, and some guy goes, "I hear you looking for me." And they're like, "Yeah." And they said, like, "Right, we're here." And he said, "You're going to have lead in your butt or whatever." And so they know there's going to be a gunfight. And fortunately, someone in the public sees that these boys have guns. So he calls 911 and says, "I'm looking at these kids in a car park with guns." And the 911 says, "Are they toy guns or real guns?" He said, "Oh, I have reason to believe they're real." He said, "Oh, I'll send someone down." So I was thinking, oh my God, there's going to be like a shootout or something. And they turn around, they've got the totally empty car park, and there's the black car from the morning's crime. Because they were like, how on earth are we going to find these people with,
They're so fucking dumb. They'll sit in a car park with no one else with their car and wait for the police to arrive because they're going, "Look at us with our guns.
Guns, we're going to kill somebody else today." And I think that's what happened. I think this kid would have probably happily shot someone else once he'd done it.
That sounds like they were on a path. Yeah.
Yes, that sounds very much like that. So they were taken into custody. They were in custody, I don't know, within 4 hours of the crime, the Chris Lane murder actually happening. Because
they weren't waiting for somebody to come, as in...
They're waiting for the person they were going to...
have a beef.
How did you put it? We're going to put lead in your butt.
There was some silly... I can't remember what it was. It was on the documentary. It's not on the radio. Something like that. They both kind of had like a gangster way of saying, "I'm going to shoot you."
Right. Oh, your gangster way of saying it was very good, though. They're going to put some lead in your butt.
So that is how they were taken down. It wasn't really that exciting.
So the police showed up and went, "Users nicked."
Yes. And so for the funeral, Sarah and her family were able to travel back to Australia with Chris's body. And I've seen her interviewed about this now, how was that? And she said, "Well, we certainly didn't think we'd be back on a plane so quickly in such circumstances." And she said, "I did think it was kind of ironic that," she said, "we were able to fly in the nice part of the plane." And she said, "And Chris's dream was always to fly business." And she said it was a pretty awful way to get that experience. But I think that through public funding and stuff, it was paid for them to go back to Australia. The funeral was heartbreaking. There's footage of that with the dad speaking, which is like, it's one thing when anybody dies, but when someone who's so full of promise and so living their best life, and so to them, just to be, it was just so pointless.
It is, yeah.
So awful. Just their darling son shot in the back, and apparently where he was shot, it went into his lung and then into his heart. And they said that even if he'd been shot in a hospital like that, it's unlikely he would have needed a miracle to survive. Yeah, it was that. And I just think, isn't that just vile? Let me tell you a little bit about the trial. And this is the article, sort of the opinion piece that was written by Christine Ahern back in 2015. Mm-hmm. So you can tell from any of the footage that you said there was quite a big Australian contingent. So you could see Channel 9, Channel 7, like right in with their microphones every time there was an opportunity to interview anybody around this trial. Obviously, it's just so funny when you see American interviews or TV or crimes that we've looked at. It's not usual that you see the Aussies really right down the front of the pack battling to get it in. Yeah. And so Christina Ahern says she's reached out to Chris Lane's father, and she said, I'd never met him, but I'd been in touch with him. And she said, I just said to him, when you're ready, if you're ready, we'd really like to speak to you. And he says, look, just let us arrive in Duncan, my wife. And I believe at that point, and I don't know if this predated the trial, but Donna and, oh God, have I said the right name now?
Donna and Peter.
And Peter, they are separated. Oh, sure. But they turn up as a family. Yeah. So I don't know when that happened. The only place I've ever read that was in her article that they were separated, but they were there as a family. And she said, we don't want to bother you, but when you're ready, let us know. And he said, look, let me just settle in with the girls and we'll let you know. And I thought it was the community was they were trying to redeem themselves. So they met at a house, they put them into a house, a family moved out of a house so that they could all live in a house together for the period of the trial. Peter Lane says that the big-hearted locals sent a limo to the airport to collect us so that we could all travel together. It's clear that the town is, desperate to make amends.
I find that really moving.
I found it just incredible. And then
I find that really upsetting that, the shame that the town is carrying because of this behaviour.
Yeah, this beautiful young man, this Australian, away from home.
As you're telling this story, I just think, when I think about sentencing, we get to this point when we're doing a story and you think, what's the sentence? And I just, for fuck's sake, it's the gun laws have got to change. It's the ready access. We would see it a lot more here if we hadn't changed our gun laws, right?
Yeah.
It shouldn't come to this. Is really why I'm feeling upset.
It just seemed to touch really ordinary, good people's lives in a way that will change them for forever. Like they're just rocked by it.
It would be, but I wonder whether or not it's because it's a person from another country that was killed.
I think it is. I think it's like when the crime happened recently in Brisbane with I think she was French girl was murdered, and maybe it wasn't recently.
Oh, we've had a few.
We've had so many. I know.
It's so embarrassing. Like it's terrible when
and then they've gone back to
people
the
can't
town
come here. They can't be safe. All that sort of stuff. And because what I'm thinking about is how this happens daily in America.
Oh, yeah. Actually, this is crazy. When I was doing my map work, I put in Oklahoma City and then I put in Duncan to see how far apart. And then I put in Redlands. So I was trying to work out, where Sarah lived, how they travelled, how they all sort of came together and whatever. And today, as I was looking, it said, warning came up, said may be affected by shooting at, and it was like a kitchen shop or something.
Hang on a minute. Was this like a Google alert on the map?
Yep, on the map.
Fuck off.
On Google Maps. So within that journey of 1.5 hours, it may be affected, a bit like us saying may be affected by weather.
Slow traffic. Yeah. I was home and looked at the maps and it gives me a red section which just says it's a bit slow. Not expecting anyone to be shooting someone.
And it was something like
may
shooting.
Need to duck as you drive through.
Shooting, and it was like collective kitchen or something. It sounds like a homeware shop or something.
But this is what I mean. It is so prolific and it's so regular that it's the fact that the town have responded this way and have said, they've opened their doors, they've been so remorseful about it is, I think, because the person who was killed was from a foreign country.
Yeah, I think it makes it.
Because everything else is just like, I hate to say it, pedestrian.
Yeah. I think also when young people have beef with each other and have a history of drugs and stupidity, when someone comes into that mix who has no connection.
Yeah.
And their lifestyle is so different. The girlfriend's a young American, on scholarship. These kids are pin-ups, really, if you think about it.
You killed a golden child of the future.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
So the first day is jury selection, and it was very important because it's so local that, they kind of had to get it right. So it says, in Oklahoma, you can point the camera from the door right into the court and get
You're
footage of
fucked, James Bug Edwards. Everyone knows you're an asshole. Yeah.
the footage of the defendant, as long as you don't get any pictures of the jurors or the judge. But the guards are on edge and threaten us with an overnight stay in prison. The tiny Stevens County Court is on an international stage.
Yeah.
They know it and they don't want to make a mistake. So everyone was, throughout the whole thing, I get the impression that everyone was doing their utmost to do the right job, to make sure the right verdict came about. So nothing was going to be questioned or, any room for error.
Scrutinised. Yep.
Yeah. So Sarah Harper is the first, the girlfriend, to give evidence, and she talks about the last day with her boyfriend of 4 years. She says she was working at the nearby golf club when she heard about a drive-by shooting, but thought nothing of it. Could you imagine if you'd heard about one around here? Because it was just
thought nothing of it.
Yeah, because you'd be like,
never think nothing of it. You'd be like, what?
What? Yeah, exactly. But for her, it was like, well, that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The daily occurrence. Yeah.
But thought nothing of it until the police came knocking. I later find out police were unable to unlock Chris's iPhone. He had with him when he was jogging, so they could identify him. It was some of the nurses at the hospital that recognised Chris as their friend Sarah's boyfriend.
Oh, no.
So that's how they were able to identify him.
Oh.
That's awful. And Facebook pictures confirmed the horrible reality. So that's how they were able to confirm, because the nurses are like, oh, my God, we know who
I think
he
that's
is.
Sarah's boyfriend. Look her up on Facebook. There he is.
This is quite an interesting sort of tangent to it. So Christina Hearn says, there are always two sides to a tragedy. And that night I catch up with Jennifer Luna, Chancey's mother. She agrees to meet me at 10:30 p.m. in a car park at the Quality Inn where we are staying. Jennifer has just finished helping intellectually disabled adults, a job she has done for 30 years. She is a single mum, just getting by on minimum wage, never had much of an education. Chancey's stepfather and brother died days apart the year before the shooting, and you know that the dad was in prison. She has a message to the Lane family. She is sorry. She says Chancey was a good kid and made a mistake. She's asking for the impossible, a second chance for her son. The next day in court was one of the worst. The final moments of Chris's life was revealed by those strangers who tried to save him. The 911 call by an older woman by the name of Joyce Smith. The Lane family, sitting just a few metres from the jury, sob as you can hear her telling the operator to hurry or he's gone. Turned out time didn't matter.
It wouldn't have made a difference, yeah.
We find out in court that only a miracle would have saved him. Linda Pryor was the woman who tried to perform CPR. She broke down when she said she tried to close Chris's big brown eyes when it was too late, and a nearby painter took off his shirt and put it over the 22-year-old's face.
Oh, God.
That night, Peter, the dad, invites myself and my colleagues to the memorial, where they are going to hold a prayer service and say a few words. He just asks if we can keep our distance. Where they are staying is not far from the memorial, so they all walk up the street together before silently stopping at the cross as cars rush by, so they're at where he was shot by the roadside. Peter kisses his hand and touches his son's baseball helmet, which rests on the top of the cross. Oh, God, sorry. Donna kneels in front, says a silent prayer to her boy and does the sign of the cross. His sisters lean on the shoulders of their parents and weep. Donna says they are religious, not overly so, but felt it important to have a prayer service at the spot her son was taken.
They would be Catholics if you went to St. Bernard's, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't think the Lane family would turn up to court the day the medical examiner would be giving evidence, but as I discovered, this is an ordinary Australian family with extraordinary courage. As forensic photos showing Chris's body are displayed, Donna closes her eyes and bows her head, but she couldn't shield her ears. The medical examiner was the prosecution's final witness. It's time for the defence. The team defending the 17-year-old are two older men named Jim and Howard Berry, and they made me really uncomfortable. So I've seen a little bit of footage where they're being interviewed, and they have got this totally different take on things. It's like, oh, it's all a misunderstanding, a bit of an accident. All these kids just
Defence lawyers, right?
Shocking.
Yeah, shocking.
They've clearly been in the business a long time and seen dozens of chances. It's obvious to all that this 17-year-old kid is going to jail. The death penalty is not on the table because of his age, but parole is on the line. They call just one defence witness, his mum. So that's Jennifer Luna, the woman that she met in the car park. And then this is a bit weird, but there's all these photographs outside the court where Jennifer has made like these big sheets of cardboard with photos of her boy when he was younger. And one of them says, "My handsome little boy." Like, that's the kind of thing she's trying to really tap into, this innocence of when he was younger.
It's a bit heartless.
Jennifer Luna brings into court cardboard cards.
Not, it's her son. She's doing everything she can.
Yeah, but she's
to try
doing
to
that
save her son
at the trial of like.
I know, but also Chris Lane's dead at this point. She's trying to stop her son effectively.
Yeah, look at my
being
beautiful
dead.
little boy who killed someone.
Yeah.
Woe is me. Fuck off.
I think it's hard to make a judgment on it as people without children.
Well, it's quite interesting. Jennifer Luna brings into court cardboard cards she's made up with photos of a young Chancey. The words, "my handsome little boy," on one. The judge won't let them in, and her evidence is cut short. She outlines his rough childhood.
I don't understand how she could be there to give evidence. She wasn't there when the crime took place. Like, she's nothing more than a character witness. They've got no one else.
Yes, they've got no one.
You know, like, she shouldn't even be allowed as a witness because she didn't witness anything. It's just a character witness.
That's exactly right. She outlines his rough childhood, including the fact his biological dad is in prison. Then she says she loves Chancey with all her heart. It was her opportunity to fight for her son, and it lasted just minutes. She leaves the court furious and
pulls out a gun and shoots
and
nothing. You're trying to find the reference.
No, I can't find it. And the defence rest. That was it. And nothing.
Right.
Yeah, and that's all the defence is. So there really isn't one, right? You'll like this, Schmitty. That night, Christina Hand goes out with colleagues to the golf club for dinner. We are being a little bit loud and having a laugh, trying to shake off the week. Our bill comes and it is all paid for. A local couple that must have heard our Australian accents and knew why we're in town wanted us to know that Duncan is a good place. Oh, God.
Take more than a free meal.
It's no surprise to anyone when the guilty verdict is read out. It only takes them an hour to deliberate. But the fact the 17-year-old will die in prison does not come as a shock to us, given the types of criminals that get parole in Australia.
Does come. It sounds like it should be a shock, given it
does come. Sorry.
No, he will die in jail. I think he's non-parole.
I've got it wrong. Yes, but the fact 17-year-old will die in prison does come as a shock to us, given the types of criminals that get parole in Australia.
The Wiggers.
Yeah. Ooh, as one of the court officers told me, "Ma'am, this is a Republican town. No one votes Democrat. They believe strongly in the death penalty and are a God-fearing people. Many think Chancey is lucky to not be on death row."
Well, he's only not on death row because of his age. If he'd been, is it 18 or 21, not sure, but older, he would be on death row.
The Lane family let out a cry and hugged one another after hearing guilty. And it does say, and I've seen this interview, but I didn't understand it at the time because I saw the interview before I read this. Christine writes, "You can interview the jury after a trial in the US, but in this town, everyone knows everyone. The sheriff doesn't like trouble and wants them gone. And so he ushers them out and away from the court so that they can't be
the family or the
jury.
Oh, right,
to try and get rid of them, to try and protect that kind of
easiest way.
Get them out. Yeah. The judge makes a special allowance for the victim impact statements to be read out right after the verdict, given the distance the Lanes have travelled. Chancey stays in court in the same bright blue shirt he has worn each day of the trial, but never looks at the family, not once. And then she says, "For the first time in the trial, I cry. The court is thick with grief as each of Chris's 3 sisters and his mum and dad talk about their indescribable loss."
It's awful.
Jennifer Luna is also overcome. She starts screaming and crying for her boy, saying Chancey is not a killer and the Lane family have got what they wanted and taken him away.
Was it the trial for all 3 of them at once, or they're all individual trials? So this is just Chancey's trial?
I think they were individual.
Because, at this point it sounds like...
Yeah, I don't have anything about
one defence person.
Yeah, and I don't have... Right. Yeah, I don't have information on the other trials as such. No, just on that one.
Right.
I couldn't...
But he was the shooter, yeah? So
yeah.
Okay. Right.
I'd like this... I'll sort of, I think, end with this. Oh, actually, no, I've got 2 more other bits, and then I want to tell you... I've got a nice little ending at the end. The court officers are unmoved after she has her little outburst and tells us...
Bit like you, Clarky. Give it a bone, bitch.
I'd be fucking moved. Don't you worry about that.
Honestly, the locals they're very Clarky. She says, the court officers are unmoved and tell us that now Chancey is guilty, there is no protection from the media and they will parade him for us. We all
Brilliant.
filed down to the bowels of the courthouse and are told we can ask him what we want during the perp walk to the prison van. And I've seen this footage and they're like in his face. So I'd seen that before I read this.
Jesus.
The officers all walk behind him.
This sounds very medieval.
Yes, proud their town has seen justice done. Like they, it's kind of like, there's a picture of it, So then they ask him questions, whatever else, are you sorry? He's like, yes, I'm sorry. All that. There's nothing particularly insightful about what he says. Guess what he says? I'm sorry,
Are you a good little boy? Like your mum says, no, I'm not. Are you a murderer? Yes, I am. Does your mum know you're a murderer because she just said you weren't?
Yeah.
Do you kiss your mother with that mouth?
Yeah. She said, do you think after seeing the depths of the Lane family's grief, this would make us all feel pleased? A killer cornered, but it doesn't.
Of course not.
I felt sick.
No.
A 17-year-old kid from the wrong side of the tracks, in cuffs, off to adult prison, where they will show him no mercy and he will never get out. There is nothing to be pleased about in this whole case.
Of course not.
The only bit I am pleased about is that no one saw through the mum's flimsy charade when she was carrying
just
on.
Ridiculous. I don't know that she was given that much.
Doesn't sound like she had much airtime, yeah.
No, they didn't.
Yeah,
I don't think she did by the
shut her
sound
down.
thing. The Lane family show remarkable grace right to the end. As they prepare to leave Duncan, Peter summed up the week by saying the verdict was not a good result or a bad result. It was just a result. It doesn't change the fact you don't bring Chris home.
Yeah.
And I've seen him say that actually in court as well, when he was in interview. And it was like, I don't, I'm not happy. I'm not anything. It's just a result.
It gets to that point, doesn't it? It's just like, well, it doesn't change the thing that leaves us grief-stricken forever.
Yeah.
I was thinking a lot as you were talking about that story and what a horrible way for all of those parents to be united.
Yeah.
Because they all sounded like they were such good people, raised good kids, all that kind of thing.
Try and do the right thing.
Whether it's drugs or whatever that has set their kids off. One of them's died, one of them's in jail, two of them, their life will probably never be the same. And the poor parents who have done none of that are all now connected. Up until what's-her-face starts going on about
Jennifer.
what a beautiful boy her son is. I've got no time for that.
No.
But for the others, like, God, how horrendous.
Yeah.
It's really awful.
You do your best to bring up your kids and that happens. Like,
it's just a tragedy for everyone.
And so meaningless. Like, my God, I don't think any of them would get their head around what happened because no provocation, no nothing, just a little bit of, I don't know, meth head gamers going out and getting confused as to whether they're playing a computer game or living life.
All right, so I do have what I think is quite a nice ending to such a terrible, terrible story. Although I also have a sneaking suspicion that maybe it might be related to what your cousins called boring park. I hope it's not.
Boeing Reserve, yeah.
Boeing
Reserve, yeah.
I don't think
Reserve, yeah.
Maybe this isn't it. Anyway, so when I looked up the Essendon Baseball Club, they have named a memorial field in Chris Lane's name. So the Chris Lane
Boeing Reserve
field, is it there? Is it?
It's Boeing Reserve.
When is it a boring?
It's at the back. It's at the Boeing Reserve for everyone. Is at the back of an airport. That's why it's called Boeing Reserve. Yeah. Essendon Airport. Yeah.
Okay. So it is a little league baseball field created in the memory of Chris Lane. It had its grand opening February 17th last year in Strathmore Heights in Melbourne's northwest. It was 10 plus years in the making. It is Australia's only dedicated little league baseball field.
Sweet.
I just think it's a really nice way of sort of wrapping up. It says, Chris was a talented baseball player and an intelligent young man. Chris had developed his baseball at Essendon Baseball Club, where he won the hearts of club members and supporters. Chris was dedicated to sport, including undertaking additional conditioning programs at the Victorian Institute of Sport. After winning a student-athlete scholarship to Redlands Community College in El Reno, Chris moved to America in August 2009. He subsequently transferred to study finance at East Central University, Oklahoma in 2012 on a baseball scholarship, where he was playing in their starting lineup in 2013. The senseless nature Chris Lane's sudden death caused great sorrow in the United States and Australia. Expressions of empathy were passed to Chris's family from many places, including the highest US and Australian government officials, the Victorian state government, Moonee Valley City Council, school and baseball communities. Community funding helped Chris's family and Sarah bring Chris home to Australia. In 2013, Major League Baseball with Essendon Baseball Club and Moonee Valley City Council proposed a new junior sports field in Chris Lane's honour. There you go. That is the story of Chris Lane.
I don't think I know the Lanes. Before we started recording, Swanny was like, I'm a bit worried about this because it's, where you grew up.
Close to home.
And it's close to home, and I don't think I know them. I suspect the girls went to either my school or St. Columbus, but I couldn't confirm it while you were...
yeah, possibly.
They could be collegiates, but I'm not sure. For me, from a sentencing perspective, because this was on an international stage, it was, it highlighted it because, it's an Australian. But how many young people, and to your point, Clarkie, how many lives do we want to keep just letting get destroyed by guns and drugs? If we had a timey-wimey machine to go back at some point, and I don't mean when they wrote the Constitution that said you have the right to bear arms, but at some point there had to be a moment where it could have gone either way, you know what I mean? Like someone could have said, well, that's just nonsense, we'll just take that out now. I feel like from a sentencing perspective, the people that continue to, is it the National Rifle Association,
NRA? Yeah.
The people that continue to really advocate for guns don't kill people, people kill people, all that sort of stuff. I would like to sentence those people who are shadowy people who have the power, who just keep pushing this agenda, to just feel the collective grief of everyone in the country who has lost someone completely unnecessarily from gun crime. I just want them to feel that till they are so debilitated that they can't think of anything other than to change those laws. I cannot understand how people can be so lacking in empathy and can't see that it is a solution to remove guns from just everyone being out. Like the number of stories where people have just got a gun. It's so easy to get a gun. And it's the guns alone are not the problem here. The drugs are the problem as well. So let's apply some of that to whoever it is who's making the meth and selling the meth and, the whole food chain of meth and all the things. But just fucking hell, just pay it. We talk about paying it forward, pay it backward, go back up the value chain, right? And smash everyone up the value chain who's created this
who benefits
mess.
from it. Yeah.
Yeah. And let them feel it, really feel
profits.
it. Wake up one day and be like, I can't move for the grief I feel, and know that is the collective grief of all the people whose lives you have ruined through your greed or whatever it is that drives you. I don't know. That's my sentence.
Nice.
Value chain nut punch.
I'm going to start with a positive. I think the system got it right with the sentence. There was no big wah about the fact that it wasn't him, that it was the drugs that did it or any of that, which we get a lot of that here where, and I just don't like it. I don't like it when people choose to do drugs and then blame the drugs for their behavior and therefore it wasn't them.
Yeah.
Which is probably why I'm feeling a bit heartless towards Chance's mum, because I kind of go, he might have been a very good
Chance,
boy.
he wasn't even on the drugs.
No, that's true.
But
he wasn't on the meth.
Well, he was on the other stuff. But he's pulled a gun and shot someone. That doesn't mean he's a good boy. And I get really annoyed with that parenting style that says my child isn't the problem.
Yeah, true.
In this story, your child is absolutely the problem. And he might have been around with other people, but there's no provocation, no self-defense, no need at all. And he's gone and shot someone. That's about as horrendous as it gets in my eyes. And I understand that he might have been a good boy, but he's
not anymore.
The view that he can still be viewed as a good boy after doing that in her eyes, I find that a bit scary, that she could actually sit there and go, he is a good boy. He is not a good boy. He may have been, and it's a tragedy that he's gone the way he has, but
I think that's the point.
Yeah. He is not a good boy.
No, he's not a good boy.
And how dare she carry on like that at the trial when someone else has lost their good boy? My God. But I think the court got it right. That's the good piece for me. I don't think death penalty for him is a win for anybody. but I do think it's appropriate to say enough. We're not going to tolerate this, and it's super sad that you're in jail for the rest of your life, but senseless killings demand that. We just can't have that in society, and you do have to pay a price for it, unfortunately. So I'm kind of okay with that. I hate the three deadbeats killing somebody with a future senselessly for no reason. I have no time for those three boys who think that.
But haven't we covered other stories like the girls who murdered their friends and they're out of jail?
We have, but
you know what I mean?
What I'm saying is,
they were pretty horrendous. They stabbed their friend 75,000 times because they just didn't like the bitch anymore, and they're out now.
I don't think that's great either. They were 12 though, and there's that whole Slender Man thing was
Shay did one as well, a similar one.
Yeah, and there's the
Skylar Nace,
and the what's her name, the Richardson who killed her family. There's plenty of that. But what I'm saying is the three deadbeats. There's no reason. There's no provocation. There's just nothing other than, I don't know. We've had an all-nighter. We're a little bit bored. I don't know. Let's go and kill someone who's got a whole lot of promise.
That after in the initial interview with Michael Jones, he says. He said, I don't know, we're just bored or whatever. They picked up on that, right? And so when he's being interviewed a couple of years later by the chap from Australia, and he says, were you bored? He goes, I don't know where they got that from. He goes, I've never said that. And they go back and they show him saying it. Yeah. So as much as Michael Jones, I think, probably has the greatest degree of empathy and remorse, he also, he knows now if he ever wants to get out, he's going to have to do certain things.
He didn't at the time.
No.
At the time,
it was dreadful.
First picked up, he was just too nonchalant about the whole thing. And that sets the tone for their sentencing, I guess. That sets the tone for the whole thing. To your point, Clarky, they show no remorse. I don't care. I'm just bored. Well, be bored in jail for the rest of your life.
But even without him saying that, the whole thing reeks of kids who are bored and lawless and possibly jealous of somebody who has some kind of a normal, healthy life that they don't have. And I don't know, it just, like I said, the thing that gets me about it is just the lack of provocation.
The
senselessness
I just feel like on a path.
Could have been anyone.
And it would have been someone. It was going to be somebody, I think. And I think it was Chris because wrong place, wrong time.
That's all it was.
And that's all it was, because I feel like those guys, they would have killed someone that day, I reckon.
100%.
That's where they were headed.
They would have killed people in the
church car park.
Yeah.
No, that's where they were headed. And there's a piece in this show which I would suggest you watch. Actually, that was the one that really made me cry, which is In Cold Blood, the Chris Lane story. Is towards the end, the Australian interviewer has gone to Oklahoma. He's interviewed Michael Jones in the correctional facility that he's in, and he says to him, if there's anything you could say to the family, what would you say? And he prepares himself and he sort of says, I'm sorry and whatever else. Anyway, so on his phone, he shows Donna and Peter. She gets upset but doesn't say anything. And the dad is really stoic and he says, no, I'm not having it. He's an absolute coward. He shot my son in the back. And when we were in court, he didn't say anything. He didn't say what he'd done. He didn't look at us. He's not a respectable person. No, I don't.
Michael Jones.
Well, no. Beth is talking about Chauncey. And then actually with Michael Jones.
He's not a good boy.
I'm just not interested.
Chauncey, not a good little boy.
Nobody went back. Nobody went to help my son. And, the mum sort of say, they left my son to die on the side of the road.
Yeah, I think that's why I take such offence at her behaviour as the mother. See the bad that's happened and respect it.
And stand back from it.
You can talk about.
I think Michael Jones's family have done that. From what
they've tried
saying.
to. Yeah.
It sounds like they really have.
They've tried to. Yeah.
Yeah. But
the dad's just was broken.
Devo.
Yeah.
To sentencing.
Oh, I don't know. Can you sentence meth?
That's it, right? It's the value chain nut punch. Yeah.
Fucking sick
over
of
it. Yeah.
Ugh. I hate it as a drug, and I just see how many lives it ruins. I also do think perhaps Chancey's mum could go to boundary school so she could learn to realise what's acceptable and what's not.
Boundary and filter. Yeah.
Well, I know. I mean, God, how many times did he do the wrong thing and she go, "Oh, you're a good boy"? I don't know, and I get that single parenting is hard and all that sort of stuff, but that behaviour at that time is horrendous. It's
But also, Chancey's the one who lost his stepfather and his brother in 5
yeah.
minutes and was showing signs of depression.
Yeah.
So let's let him bunk off school and hang out with his mates and take drugs.
all of it. That's what I mean
I get
about
that you're a single mother,
boundaries.
but at that point in time, if your grandfather's saying it was evident that he was depressed, what were we doing for him to take him out of that environment, do whatever he could for him?
She may have tried, right, and she may have not been able to do anything.
I'm being judgy.
But it's okay. No, I'm not saying that. But it's what I'm saying is that it's okay to say, "My God, I did my best, and I'm horrified by what my son has done."
Yeah,
but to sit there carrying on as if he's bringing up photos from when he was younger, you heartless cow.
And you got what you wanted with him going down. I just couldn't believe that she said that to the Lanes.
Yeah. She sounds like a big part of the problem.
I think she needs a take-home bag of dicks.
Classic Clarky.
A takeaway, like a take-home bag.
Yeah.
A doggy bag?
Yeah.
A doggy bag of dicks?
A doggy bag of dicks.
She could have a doggy bag of dicks, yeah.
Yeah. There you go. Swanny?
I was watching something last night. And I was going to send
a doggy bag of dicks in it?
No, it had a bag of dicks. And I've got to remember what it was. It was...
so much more common than we realised.
I know, and it was from... I'm not going to be able to remember what it was now. And it was from something like we would have all watched like 10 years ago or something. And someone's yelling at someone. Oh, it was a scene out of a Tina Fey and Amy Poehler movie where like they're sisters and they go home to their hometown and they're having a party and they run into like one of their nemesis from school and she's now like a real estate agent. So she's saying how hot shit she is and they're hanging shit on her. And at the end, like she walks off with a trolley in the supermarket and Tina Fey's character goes, "Eat a bag of dicks," or whatever. So I was like, I was going to send it to you. I'll see if I can find it. Then I lost it. But I was like, oh my God.
She's genius. She's brilliant.
Yeah, she's the writer. So that's why
who she is.
Yeah, you will. Tina Fey.
I don't know who Tina Fey is.
They do an ad where they have people impersonating Tina Fey, and I'm sure one of them is Tina Fey. I don't know.
It's Booking.com or something. Yeah, Booking.com.
You don't know who Tina Fey is. You never saw 30 Rock?
No.
Mean Girls.
She wrote the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. She's just hilarious.
She's very good. Yeah.
She was on SNL for years.
No. SNL, yeah. She's amazing.
I've never watched SNL, so.
Oh, there's a crime right there. All right. Anyway, do you have further sentencing?
No.
I just know you said you were going to do that when we were off air, and then I wasn't sure if we were
off
air.
All right. Well, on that note. As we say every week, miss you already.
Ciao.
Thanks for listening to Trial by Wine. You can contact us at trialbywine@gmail.com. Please rate, review and subscribe to Trial by Wine on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. If you'd like to support us, you can become a patron at www.patreon.com, Trial by Wine. Or visit our website, www.trialbywine.com, to donate to us. Your support will help us cover many more cases and apply wacky sentences. We really appreciate you listening and hope you tell everyone about us. Our cover art is by John Christo and music is by Beauchamp from pixabay.com.